minutes, but right now, if she's ready, we're joined by Congresswoman Ann Wagner, who walked into the studio just a minute ago. Ann, how are you?
I'm good, Mark. Good to be with you.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, huh?
Oh, most certainly has. I mean, I've traversed all of Asia and the hot spots across the world. I've made it back, made a journey to Springfield with our president yesterday, and just had a big human trafficking roundtable and press conference. So, that's an issue that's near and dear to my heart.
I know.
But it's great to be in studio with you and your listeners.
Well, thank you. So before we get to the human trafficking thing, I wanted to play one of my favorite comments from the president yesterday when he was down in Springfield.
I am fully committed to working with Congress to get this job done, and I don't want to be disappointed by Congress. Do you understand me? You understand?
I saw him pointing at the congressional delegation down front, where I'm assuming you were standing, right?
It was awesome. You bet, you bet. I wish he'd pointed a finger over towards the U.S. Senate side a little bit.
Well, there you go. Well, yeah,
doesn't seem to be the House that's the problem right now. But it was awesome. We were down there. The entire Republican delegation in Congress was there, along with Senator Blunt, and it was a terrific speech in a great venue from the standpoint of not only did it showcase economic growth and a great business and company in Southwest Missouri, but to be there in the kind of the birthplace of Route 66, Main Street America, the heartland, first stop on the president's tax reform tour. He had a lot of messages for us, but one most important is that it's time for Congress to get this done, and I'm all on board.
You've already had some budget markups, correct?
Yes.
In the House. So I know that's not part and parcel of tax reform, but the budget's going to have to get done. Relief for Harvey's going to have to get figured in there somehow, and then tax cuts on top of all that. Have I said that in the right order of how this is going to have to go?
We have always 12 appropriations bills that we do. We have 4 that we have finished up, which are the bulk of the spending, and a lot of our defense spending, a lot of the spending for our veterans and our military, the biggest, well, finally, the only pay raise in years for our soldiers and military forces we were able to get through. So we got a big chunk before we left done. We have 8 that are a little bit smaller in size that we're going to be working on as soon as we get back next Tuesday to package up and send. We have to work on budget. We have to set up the tax reform reconciliation package in order to go to the Senate for passage. So there's just the horrific and sad and awful devastation that we've seen down in Texas and the Gulf, and it continues. And the flooding, I mean, we know how bad floods are here in Missouri, and I represent a big chunk of the territory along the Merrimack River there that is so very affected at certain times. And this, I mean, there's just nothing quite like this devastation. So we'll be looking at a relief package, I'm sure, there, and a lot on our plate, but I'm ready for it.
What about this dust-up between Chris Christie and Senator Cruz? Where do you stand on that? Do you think, or do you not think, there was a lot of pork thrown into that Hurricane Sandy appropriation a few years back?
70% of it was pork, Mark.
Yeah.
I did not support that. I certainly support the victims of Hurricane Sandy and Katrina and all of the disasters that we have had. Certainly we in Missouri after the tornadoes in Joplin, and certainly what came through even the tornadoes up at the airport and in North St. Louis, we've received the aid also, and we do when the flooding happens too. But that particular package, Chris Christie was out of line. He was playing politics. I agree with Senator Cruz, and I voted the same way. Good.
That's good, because it doesn't really matter what this administration does. The people on the left are going to take pot shots. The mainstream media this morning were hinting. They do this in their own subtle way, but they were suggesting that they showed pictures of the flooding, and then they immediately cut to the Springfield appearance by the president and said, while recovery efforts are still underway, the president is moving ahead with his tax plan, as if suggesting somehow it was inappropriate. It's my understanding, and in fact, Jamie Allman reported this, that he was originally planning to do something much bigger on tax reform, maybe in Springfield, but they scaled that back when the hurricane hit so that it wouldn't seem like he was holding some sort of a rally in the face of this protest.
And really, this was a legislative effort. It was not a campaign rally. It was a serious tax reform message that the president was delivering. It wasn't done in a huge stadium with tens of thousands as he normally would do. So, yes, this was very much scaled back and specific to those in the Springfield area, in the heartland, to Congress, to legislators, are well represented there in Springfield yesterday. And the president was certainly down in the area. It can be disruptive when any president, commander-in-chief, any member of Congress goes down to a disaster area. So you have to be careful about the timing. They are still in rescue and recovery mode at this point. There's going to be a lot of cleanup and disaster relief and devastation that must be dealt with. And our hearts go out to our friends in Texas and beyond. And here's what I love about America, Mark. It's the true American spirit when you see neighbor helping neighbor, state helping state, the volunteer organizations from the faith-based communities and others that are going down to Harvey and to Texas and to Houston in particular to be of assistance. We've got things posted on our website. If people want to contribute, if they want to know how they can help their neighbor, we are very much not just looking for federal and government assistance and the work that will be happening at the local and state level, but companies, businesses, individuals, churches, synagogues, faith communities, everyone pulls together when these tragedies happen. And that is, to me, the essence of America.
Very true. We've got, in fact, a link up on our website. We're working with the Red Cross to get people to donate as well. People can go to 971talk.com. Thanks for pointing that out. Before we move on to the human trafficking thing, because I want to hear what you did on that today, just one last question on tax reform. It seems so simple. We've been talking about it, though, for 30-some years since the last major tax reform took place, and it's yet to happen, to simplify corporate taxes, to close loopholes, to reduce the number of tax categories. Why is this such a hard thing to do?
We just haven't tackled it, and it is time to. Way past time. It was 1986, Mark. I had my very first job out of college working in Kansas City. I went to Mizzou, worked in Kansas City for Hallmark Cards, was making $19,000 a year. And guess what? A lot has changed in my life and yours and in this world over the last 30 years. But the taxes have not.
Gotten worse.
They've gotten way worse. And the president talked about a simpler tax code. Right now, some 94% of Americans have to receive some sort of outside help, assistance, whether it's accountants, lawyers, certain applications they have to buy. It must be simpler. The president talked about one page. So he talked about simplification. He talked about creating a competitive tax code, especially when it came to corporate America and how that would lift wages and increase jobs. And he talked a lot, which is why I think he came to Springfield. He talked a lot about providing tax relief for the middle class, and it was welcome relief and welcome words, and received very well lines over bringing back the profits that U.S. companies are making overseas in the tune of trillions, somewhere between probably 3 and 5 trillion in growth here in the United States of America without the onerous. I'm all yours.
You might have some important luncheon with the governor or something here.
All
I want to make sure.
yours.
All right, good. So that's Congresswoman Ann Wagner from the 2nd District. We'll continue our conversation with her, and we'll take a quick break.